I walked into my own birthday party, and it wasn't for me. My family forgot me. I was done. What happened next? It was my birthday, or at least it was supposed to be. I had been planning for the night, my usual low-key celebration. A quiet dinner, maybe a drink or two with friends, nothing extravagant. It was always a bit of a letdown, but I'd gotten used to it. Birthdays come and go, right? So when I walked through the door, the first thing I noticed was the balloons, the cake, the candles, a big table covered in food. It looked perfect. For a second, I thought, wait, maybe they actually remembered this year. But then I saw the banner. Congratulations, Nathan. My stomach dropped. It wasn't a birthday party. It was a celebration for my brother's graduation. I stood frozen in the doorway, a gift bag still clutched in my hand, the weight of it suddenly feeling heavier than I could manage. Nathan's name was everywhere, on the banner, on the cake, on the balloons. It was all for him. I should have walked out right then, but I didn't. I stayed. For some reason, I thought maybe I was overreacting. Maybe it wasn't that bad. So, I played the part, smiled weakly, and tried to blend in. For about 3 seconds, I let myself believe that my family had actually remembered me. That maybe, just maybe, they hadn't forgotten my birthday. But then Nathan walked in. And of course, the applause doubled. The music was louder, the smiles wider. He was in his graduation gown, holding his diploma, already taking selfies with my mom and dad. His voice was high-pitched, that sharp, fake enthusiasm that made everyone around him laugh like he was the greatest thing to ever walk into a room. I didn't exist for those few moments. I didn't exist at all. I barely noticed my mom standing in the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron, looking a little too busy to pay attention to what was happening. Nathan saw me standing awkwardly by the door, his gaze flickering over to me before he waved it off. "Hey, man," he called. "You didn't tell me you were coming. But, it's all good. We can share the party, I guess." He grinned, as if he was doing me a favor. A part of me wanted to laugh. The kind of laugh that's not funny but bitter, the kind that burns when you realize how far you've been pushed. I could feel the heat creeping up my neck. But then it happened. My mom came over, pretending like it was no big deal. "Well, Nathan's been working so hard," she said, as if the explanation was enough to make everything okay. "We thought we'd celebrate both of you, but you don't like a lot of attention anyway, right?" A laugh nearly escaped me, but I held it in. I wasn't going to play this game. Not anymore. Not when they had been celebrating Nathan for years, while I stood in the background, doing everything they asked, paying for things they forgot to cover, fixing problems they couldn't be bothered with, and always being the invisible one. But this time? This time I wasn't invisible anymore. I took a deep breath, staring at the cake, "Congratulations, Nathan," and felt the rage simmering underneath the surface. I could feel the tightness in my chest, the sting of years of being used. It wasn't just about the party. It was about the $900 catering charge on my card, the $300 venue deposit, the $150 for flowers. Every single dollar spent on Nathan's big day, charged to my account. I had always been the one they could count on when they needed something, but they never thought I'd do what I was about to do. I turned around, walked out of the house, and didn't look back. It wasn't until I was sitting in my car, the engine off, the headlights casting long shadows across the driveway, that the full weight of it hit me. It wasn't the money. It wasn't the party. It wasn't even Nathan being the center of attention again. It was that they thought it was okay. They thought I would just keep taking it. I would just keep being the background character in their story. But I was done. I grabbed my phone and started dialing the police. 2 weeks later, the phone rang. It was Nathan. I answered it on the second ring, my pulse still pounding in my ears. "I don't get it, man," Nathan's voice was shaky, almost whiny. "What the hell did you do? The police said you filed a report. Why would you do this?" My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. "You know exactly what I did, Nathan," I said, my voice calm but icy. "You took my card. You threw yourself a party and acted like it was for me, and you didn't even think to ask. You didn't even care." There was a long pause on the other end. "You're seriously doing this? Over a birthday party?" It was like a switch flipped in my head. I could hear the victim card being played from a mile away. "Yeah, I'm doing this," I said, my voice flat. "Because I'm done being the one who fixes everything." He tried again, his voice turning defensive. "Come on, man, it wasn't that big of a deal." "To you, maybe," I said, cutting him off. "But it was to me. You used me again, Nathan. And I'm done being the one who cleans up your messes." That was it. I hung up. No shouting. No drama. Just a simple click of the phone. A few days later, Nathan reached out again. But this time, it wasn't a phone call. It was a message. Why are you doing this? This is all just one big misunderstanding. You're punishing me over a mistake. Please, just drop it. You've always been the one who makes things right. Please, don't ruin everything for me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't interested in fixing things. I wasn't interested in being the bigger person. I wasn't going to let it slide like I had for years. I was done. I looked at the message for a moment, and then I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I walked away from him, from my family, from all of it. For once, it was my turn to live for myself. I didn't hear from Nathan for a few days after that, and I didn't really expect to. But then, late one night, my phone buzzed with an email. From my boss. I froze. The subject read, Nathan's request. I stared at the subject line, my stomach knotting. Nathan had found a way to reach out to my boss. After everything that had happened, this felt like another betrayal. A punch to the gut when I was finally getting the strength to walk away. With a deep breath, I opened the email. Subject, Nathan's request. My boss, Liz, had forwarded the message to me, and I could already feel the heat in my veins. I didn't even need to read the whole thing to understand what was happening. Nathan had gone to extreme lengths to make me look like the bad guy. It wasn't a long email, but the words on the screen hit like a truck. Hi Liz. I'm writing to express my concern about Kelly's recent behavior. He's been going through some personal issues involving family matters, and it seems to be affecting his work. He's been distant and acting out of character. I'm really worried about him, and I think it's important to reach out and see if there's anything we can do to help him get back on track. Thank you for understanding, Nathan. It took all my willpower not to throw my phone against the wall. Nathan was playing the victim, again. And now he was trying to make it seem like I was the one causing trouble at work. I had to laugh, the absurdity of it all overwhelming. I'd been nothing but reliable, trustworthy, and professional. But to Nathan, I was just another obstacle in his perfect little world. Liz, thankfully, wasn't the type to buy into family drama. She was direct, sharp, and not easily manipulated. I had a feeling she already knew what was really going on. I wasn't surprised when she called me a few minutes later. Kelly, can we talk? She asked, her tone professional, but I could hear the curiosity underneath. She was trying to figure out if I needed to explain myself. I sat down at my desk and ran my fingers over the edge of my computer, trying to stay calm. Sure, Liz. What's up? Look, she said, not wasting any time, I received an email from Nathan. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I know what's been happening with your family, and I don't need to get involved. But I just want to make sure you're okay. Is everything all right? I had half a mind to tell her everything right then. To let her in on the twisted, ugly truth of what had been going on. To explain how my family had used me for years. How my sister, Rachel, had taken advantage of my good nature, and how my parents had constantly treated me like I was invisible. But I didn't. I knew Liz would understand. I'm fine, Liz, I said, keeping my voice steady. Really? I don't want to drag work into this. It's just family stuff. Nathan's trying to manipulate the situation, and I'm not going to let him get away with it. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. I could practically hear her processing everything. Well, you don't need to worry about your job, she finally said. But if you need to take a personal day, let me know. Take care of yourself. I smiled, feeling a small sense of relief. It wasn't much, but it was something. Liz had my back, and that meant the world to me right now. Thanks, Liz. I appreciate it, I said. Anytime, Kelly. Take care of yourself, okay? After hanging up, I sat back in my chair, staring at my computer screen. There was so much I wanted to say, so much I wanted to scream. But I knew better than to get caught up in the chaos. I wasn't going to let Nathan's games get to me. Not this time. The next few days were filled with texts from my parents, each one getting more desperate than the last. They wanted me to drop the police report, to fix things. They didn't even care about what Rachel had done. All they cared about was keeping the peace. Keeping their perfect little world intact. But I couldn't keep pretending anymore. I finally sent a message to my mom. I'm done pretending this is normal. I've been your backup plan for years, and I'm not doing it anymore. She called me within seconds, but I didn't answer. It wasn't about being petty or holding a grudge. It was about respect. Something I had never gotten from them. That night, I grabbed my laptop and pulled up the folder where I had kept all the receipts. The credit card statements, the venue invoices, the photos from Rachel's so-called celebration. I had everything. And I was going to make sure she paid for what she did. I wasn't going to be her scapegoat anymore. I opened up a new file. The police had already given Rachel a chance to make things right, but she had refused. So now, I had to do something. I started typing out everything I had learned over the years. The stolen money. The lies. The manipulation. The constant, never-ending cycle of Rachel taking from me and everyone else. But what I didn't expect was for my mom to show up at my office the next morning. No call, no warning, just a text saying she was on her way. I should have known this was coming. They'd already tried to guilt-trip me over the phone, but this? This was different. This was their last-ditch effort to save Rachel's image. When she walked through the door, I couldn't help but notice the air of authority she carried with her. The same way she had when I was a kid, when she would lecture me about family and duty. But this time, I wasn't buying it. "You don't get it, do you?" she said, her eyes searching mine, looking for a crack. "We're family, Kelly. You're hurting us. You're hurting Rachel. All she wants is to get her life back together. You're not going to be the one who ruins it." I smiled, a little too coldly. "I'm not the one who ruined it. She did that on her own." Mom's face faltered for a split second, but she quickly regained her composure. "This is over, Kelly. It's over. You can fix this. Just drop the report. For the family." I stood up, slowly, calmly. My eyes never left hers. "I'm not dropping anything," I said, my voice firm. "Not anymore." I watched her walk out of the office, her heels clicking sharply on the floor, the same way she used to walk when she was still trying to control everything around her. But this time? This time, I wasn't going to let her win. I wasn't going to be the one who cleaned up the mess anymore. The game had changed. The days after my mother's visit felt surreal. The walls of my office, once a place where I could focus on work, now felt like a cage. Everywhere I looked, I saw the echoes of the life I had lived, a life built on a foundation of resentment and silent sacrifices. Rachel had made sure to keep up her act. I started getting messages from family members, all echoing the same thing. "Why are you doing this to Rachel? Why are you ruining her life?" I didn't answer them. There was nothing left to say. A week later, I got the call. It was from my lawyer. "Kelly, I just wanted to let you know that the investigation into your sister's fraudulent use of your credit card is moving faster than we expected," he said, his voice clinical, detached. "I've spoken to the police. They're looking to file charges, but your sister's lawyer is trying to negotiate a settlement." I couldn't help but smile a little. A settlement? Rachel was already trying to buy her way out of this. It was laughable. "What's the next step?" I asked, my voice steady, almost cold. "You don't need to do anything right now," my lawyer said. "We have all the evidence we need. I'll keep you updated." I hung up, my hands trembling slightly. For a moment, it all felt too real. The years of letting Rachel and the rest of my family walk all over me were catching up, but I was no longer willing to let them rewrite the narrative. That night, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I was pacing in my apartment, waiting for something, anything, to break. I had spent too many years tiptoeing around the people who were supposed to love me, making myself small so they could shine. And for what? So Rachel could steal from me. So my parents could gaslight me into thinking I was the problem. No more. I pulled up my phone. There was a message from Rachel. "Please, can we talk? I've been trying to fix things. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean to hurt you. It's just, everything's falling apart." It took everything in me not to laugh. I could practically hear her voice, that same self-pitying tone she always used. It was always someone else's fault, never hers. I took a deep breath and typed out a response. "You've already hurt me enough. I'm not going to keep pretending this isn't a pattern with you. You wanted everything to be your way, and now it's time to face the consequences. I'm done being your safety net. Don't contact me again." I hit send, my thumb hovering over the screen for a moment, waiting for her to respond. The dots blinked. She's typing. But then, after a few seconds, it stopped. She didn't respond. And that's when I realized I was finally free. The next morning, my phone buzzed. It was my lawyer again. "They're offering a plea deal to Rachel," he said. "She'll have to pay back the full amount, complete 100 hours of community service, and take a financial literacy class. If she agrees, no charges will be filed." I had to stop myself from rolling my eyes. A financial literacy class? Rachel was always one step away from ruining her life, and now it was being packaged as some kind of solution. "Well, let me know what happens," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "Don't worry, Kelly. We've got this." As soon as I hung up, I sat in silence. I felt nothing but cold detachment. Rachel wasn't the one I needed to fix. I had spent years waiting for her to change, but she never did. And now, I was the one who had finally drawn the line. 2 days later, Rachel showed up at my apartment. I didn't even know how she had gotten my address. Maybe she'd tracked me down. Maybe she'd cried to a neighbor. I didn't care anymore. When I opened the door, she looked completely different. Her usual polished, self-assured persona had shattered. Her hair was messy, her eyes red from crying. "Can we talk?" she asked, voice cracking. I didn't invite her in. I didn't even step aside to let her in. "What do you want, Rachel?" I need you to drop the report," she said, wringing her hands, her gaze darting around the room like she couldn't settle. "They said this could ruin my life. Please, Kelly, you have to understand, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." I felt the familiar tug of guilt, the one I had felt for years, the one that made me bend and give in. But this time, I wasn't falling for it. "No," I said firmly. "You don't get to do this anymore. You don't get to take from me, mess up, and then beg me to clean it up. This is your mess, Rachel. You made this happen. Not me." Her eyes widened. "You don't mean that. You can't mean that. You're my brother." Stop, I said, holding up my hand. "No more excuses. No more playing the victim. I'm not doing this for you. I've spent my whole life being the one who fixes things for everyone else, and I'm done." Her lips trembled. "Please, Kelly, this is family. You can't just let it end like this." I shook my head, the finality of it hitting me like a wave. "It already has. This is where it ends." And just like that, I closed the door in her face. The next few days were quiet. No more phone calls, no more messages, no more guilt trips. It was almost peaceful. But I knew it wouldn't last. Rachel wasn't done. And neither was the rest of my family. The following Sunday, my mom called again. "Kelly, you need to fix this," she said, her voice tight, her words rushed. "You've embarrassed Rachel. You've embarrassed the whole family. Do you even care what this is doing to her?" I held the phone away from my ear for a moment, biting back the anger that was rising in me. "I don't care. Not anymore. You can't just give up on her like this," my mom continued. "She's been under so much stress. You know how she is. She needs you." "No, Mom. She doesn't need me," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "She needs to face the consequences of what she's done. And I'm not going to fix it for her anymore." "You're throwing your family away for this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "No," I said, my heart racing. "I'm finally choosing myself." And with that, I hung up. I knew Rachel wasn't done yet. She would keep trying. She would keep playing her games. But I had done it. I had made my choice. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't apologizing for it. It wasn't long after I hung up the phone with my mom that the quiet became too loud. The silence in my apartment, once comforting, now felt like an empty void. For the first time in years, I had nothing to distract me. No family drama. No arguments. Just the harsh realization that, in a twisted way, I had been the one holding the family together for far too long. But as soon as I let that truth settle in, I knew it wasn't enough to just walk away. I wasn't done yet. Not when Rachel was still out there, doing everything she could to turn the tables, to make me the villain in her perfect little story. The next morning, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Rachel's best friend, Shannon. I opened it without thinking. "You need to call Rachel. She's losing it. She's been calling everyone, blaming you for everything. She's been really quiet all morning, and I think she's about to do something drastic." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Drastic? That was Rachel's favorite word. Everything was dramatic with her, and now she had her friends involved too. But something in Shannon's message made my gut twist. I didn't call her. I didn't respond. I had learned my lesson. By mid-afternoon, the phone rang again. This time it was from my mom. I could already hear the panic in her voice before I even said hello. "Kelly," she started, sounding winded. "Where are you? You need to come home. Now." "Mom, what's going on?" "It's Rachel. She's locked herself in her room. She's refusing to eat. She won't answer the door. And she's making threats. She said she's going to take all this to the press. She's saying you ruined her life." I felt the blood drain from my face. Threats to the press? The thought was absurd, but there was a part of me that knew exactly what Rachel was capable of. The lies, the manipulations, the scenes that always left me cleaning up the aftermath. This wasn't just her being dramatic. She was about to escalate, and I didn't think I was ready for it. "I'm not coming home, Mom," I said flatly. "I'm not doing this. Not anymore. Please, Kelly, she begged. You don't understand. You're the only one who can get through to her. If you don't. No, I'm not going through this again, I cut her off. I'm done. If she wants to make her life a circus, then that's her problem, not mine. There was a long silence on the other end. Mom, you've always chosen Rachel. Even when I've been the one who's helped, the one who's carried the weight. But I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not your scapegoat. I'm not Rachel's. I could hear her trying to speak, but I hung up before she could say anything else. The next few days were a blur of messages and calls from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. The same people who had stayed silent when Rachel stole from me, when she used me, were suddenly all too eager to voice their concerns about her well-being. Have you talked to Rachel? My Aunt Karen asked, her voice high-pitched with concern. She's really going through something. You have to understand, she's not well. Not well. That was their excuse every time Rachel did something awful. She was sensitive, she was overwhelmed, she was under pressure. It was always someone else's fault. She's not well, Aunt Karen, I said through gritted teeth, trying to stay calm. And neither have I. But no one ever cared about me when I was struggling. No one ever asked about me. It was always Rachel. Always Rachel. Kelly, please, she sighed. It's not like that. You don't understand the pressure she's under. We're a family. You need to fix this. Family? I almost laughed. I've been the only one in this family who's ever carried the weight. But you know what? I'm done. With that, I hung up again. The quiet lasted for a while after that. But then, out of nowhere, came the bombshell. I woke up to a message from my lawyer. Rachel has been in touch with the media. She's claiming you've been emotionally abusive and manipulated her for years. My heart skipped a beat. I felt a knot tighten in my chest. The text continued. They're starting to reach out to people you know, asking for statements. She's trying to make this your fault. You might want to prepare for the fallout. I stared at the message, the words blurring before my eyes. Emotional abuse? Manipulating her? This was it. This was how Rachel was going to spin everything. She wasn't going to face the truth. She wasn't going to take responsibility for her actions. No, she was going to make me the villain, the one who'd been mean to her, the one who had somehow ruined her life. I could already see the headlines in my head. Man files police report against sister, claims family manipulation and fraud. I wasn't going to let her control the narrative this time. Not again. The next day, as I was heading out to a meeting, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Shannon, Rachel's best friend. She's going to post something tonight. Something big. She's going to make you look like a monster. I don't want to be involved, but I think you need to know. She's not going to stop until she's destroyed everything. I could hear the weight in Shannon's words. And then, the final text came in. She's already been talking to your parents. They're on her side. They're going to support whatever she says. I wasn't going to let this happen. I spent the rest of the day gathering evidence, screenshots of texts, bank statements, photos, anything I could find that showed the truth. The reality of the years I had spent paying for everything that should have been shared. The countless times Rachel had manipulated the situation to make me feel guilty for not helping, when all I had ever done was give and give until there was nothing left. When I finished, I sat back and stared at the pile of documents in front of me. This was it. The truth was staring back at me, and this time, I wasn't going to hide. I wasn't the villain in her story. I wasn't going to be the villain anymore. I logged onto social media, searching for Rachel's name. It wasn't hard to find her post. It was the first thing on her feed. The truth always comes out. Some people pretend to be the hero, but in the end, they're just the villain. You can only push someone so far before they break. I'm not broken. But they will be. I took a deep breath, staring at her words. And I knew what I had to do next. This was going to get ugly. But for once, I wasn't backing down. The storm had already begun. Rachel's post was everywhere. It had been shared by half the family, her friends, even some of my old acquaintances. The hashtags. The dramatic, tear-filled captions. Everyone was asking, what happened? Is everything okay? But one thing Rachel hadn't accounted for was how quickly the truth could travel. And this time, it wasn't just her narrative being told. This time, I had the upper hand. I sat at my kitchen table, looking at the pile of documents I'd gathered over the last couple of days. The texts. The credit card statements. The old emails where Rachel had asked me for money without telling me why, only to later post pictures of herself on healing retreats while claiming to be in financial ruin. Everything was in front of me. But I knew I needed more than just evidence. I needed to hit her where it would hurt the most. I grabbed my phone and started typing. The draft was long, but I was precise. I wasn't going to make this about petty revenge or childish insults. I was going to lay out the truth, the raw, unfiltered truth, and let everyone see the game she had been playing for years. Subject: the truth about Rachel. I've spent years being there for my family. I've paid off bills, covered emergencies, helped in ways that most people wouldn't even think of. I have been the one who kept things running, even when I had nothing left to give. So when I walked into that birthday party, only to find it was really a celebration for my sister Rachel, once again, making it all about her, I knew something had to change. But this isn't about one birthday. It's about years of being taken advantage of. Being the one who always fixes everything when Rachel can't be bothered to do anything herself. It's about the credit card charges that Rachel ran up without a second thought. It's about the years I've spent as the family bank and how no one, especially not Rachel, ever thought to check in on me. This isn't just me being upset about a party. This is about the emotional, financial, and psychological toll I've endured for far too long. The countless times Rachel lied, manipulated, and played the victim while getting away with everything. And now, she's trying to twist the truth to make me the villain. So, Rachel, here it is, the truth. I'm done being your scapegoat. You wanted a fight? You've got one. Here are the receipts. Here are the texts, the bank statements, the proof that you are the one who crossed the line, time and time again. I'm not ashamed of the decisions I've made. But I won't let you keep lying to everyone, making them think I'm the problem when you're the one who's been stealing, manipulating, and pretending to be the victim. I don't need to be anyone's punching bag anymore. You've made your bed, Rachel. Now you get to lie in it, asterisk. I sat back, staring at the screen. The weight of what I was about to do settled in my chest. But this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about control. About taking back what was mine. I hit send. The reaction was instant. Within minutes, my inbox was flooded with messages. The family group chat exploded, and it felt like I was being hit from all sides. But amidst the noise, there was one message that stood out. From my Aunt Karen. Kelly, I had no idea. I never realized what was really going on behind the scenes. I'm so sorry. You were always the one giving, and no one ever saw it. I've been blind. Please know that we see you now. It was small, but it was enough. A few hours later, Rachel posted a response. It was a blur of more hashtags, more fake apologies, more manipulation. She was trying to claim I was the one causing chaos, that I was the one who had ruined everything. But this time, it didn't have the same power it once did. Her friends piled in, offering their usual support, but something was different now. The lies were unraveling, and the truth was out in the open. No amount of tears, no amount of victimhood was going to save her this time. The next day, I got the call. It was from my parents. They were trying to salvage what was left of their perfect little world. We need to talk, my mom said. You've made a scene. You've embarrassed the family. I almost laughed. Embarrassed the family? Mom, what about Rachel? What about the years I've spent cleaning up her messes, covering for her, and paying for everything? What about the lies she's been telling? Did you ever think to ask me how I've been? Or was I just the guy with the checkbook? My dad's voice came through, quieter than usual. Kelly, you've really gone too far this time. Your mom and I have talked, and we think you should just let it go. Rachel's trying to move on. Please, for the family's sake. Let it go? Let it go? I couldn't hold back the anger anymore. You want me to let it go when she's been stealing from me for years? You want me to let it go when I've been the one holding everything together while you guys only ever care about her? My mom's voice cracked. You're being so selfish. You don't understand. Selfish? I said, my voice almost a whisper now. I'm not the one who's selfish. I've spent my whole life being used. But I'm done now. I'm not going to keep pretending this is normal. I'm choosing myself for once. There was a long silence. Well, my dad said finally, his voice cold, then I guess we're done talking. A week later, my phone buzzed again. It was from Rachel. I never meant for things to get this far. Please, Kelly. Please come back. I can't do this without you. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I know I hurt you. Please don't shut me out. I stared at the message for a long time. There was no anger left in me. Just a cold indifference. I typed one last message and hit send. It's too late, Rachel. You've already made your choice. I'm done cleaning up your mess. And just like that, I was free. I didn't hear from her again. But I didn't need to. I had my life back, and that was all that mattered.